the next thing I want to talk about is the auxiliaries, and also, that Bezod is here, so he wants equal opportunity. But we've been working, Bezod put together a very, very good plan on dining services, and spent a lot of time on it. It was a very professional plan that came in and brought it um, to, to us, and also we met with Dr. Guzman about that plan. And then she gave her input to us about how she would like things to go. And I don't know if Dr. Guzman, if you want to talk about that, or if you want about the dining services, what your recommendations were, or because we talked about staffing and hours and.
I, I have had a meeting with Basad twice, and I, and I think that this board's, as well as myself's, kind of value system is that the mission for this college is to provide good instruction. And auxiliary services should be providing additional monies towards that instruction instead of costing us money that is taking away from instruction. And so we have made it very clear to Basad that next year we will not be able to advance money if there isn't, if they're not making it, because if not, what we would be forced to do is to farm it out, because they then make money. The problem is that I have never had better food at a college than I have had here. So we have the quality, and I think that that's admirable, but we shouldn't continue to provide monies for auxiliary services. What they need to do is to provide money for instruction. And so one of the, we're looking at different options. One of the things that has not worked in the auxiliary services here is that the East Wing Eatery and the cafeteria were independent and almost competitors. And so we're trying to find a way where they each have their own identity and yet cooperate with each other. So instead of having two bakers, we have one baker, and the cafeteria purchases the bakeries from the East Wing Eatery, because now we have a faculty and she's teaching. And so with the food, and Basad in previous years has not had to have additional monies. And I think that the introduction of the East Wing Eatery has promoted better quality for the cafeteria, which then is costing more because better quality food costs more. And so we're working so that they understand with all auxiliaries. When I was working with Bob and Maggie, it was very clear that there is no reason why the Early Childhood Center should be costing us any money. We should have good early childhood education within the costs that the students are paying. And so what our hope for next year is to have auxiliary services that provide money to the college so that we can increase full-time faculty, increase support services, rather than what has been happening in auxiliary enterprises taking away money from instruction.
Is the East Wing ran by faculty? So are we using faculty to deliver services there?
Yes, Jerry Denkin was. And what we're doing, though, we're going to finish up this semester. Then we're looking at closing for the summer, and then regrouping during that time and opening it up in a little bit different way, a little bit different model than what we're doing now. And that's one of the nice things about that, is we still have our dining services, but we have a lot more room with the East Wing. We want to keep it. People love it, and it's really opened that side of the campus. It's vibrant over there. There's a lot of things going on, And so we want to keep that.
We want to keep it self-sustained.
But we want to keep it. You sound like a finance officer.
I know.
She was a finance officer in a previous life. I'm sure of it. So anyway, but yes, we want it to be self-sustaining, but still have it over there because it does add to the character and of the place. And so that we think we can do that. We can find a way. Okay. I just wouldn't have anything respectful if I just didn't bring up this grant accounting receivable comparison. Just for old time's sake. And I'm just so happy that from November to December, it's a smaller number. Board member Besser. And so I'd stand for any questions. I'm gonna miss giving financial reports to you. And I said, you always think I'm making up stories and lying, but I could be mean to you now. And I'm not. So I'll miss you both. It says, I have 2 items, books and accounts receivable. So if there's no any questions, I'm finished with my report.
We need to have a motion to approve the report.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Passes. Thank you so much, Mary D. And I believe that's, oh no, you have property disposal approval?
As you know, board members, we come to you periodically when we're disposing of equipment that's old, obsolete, or worn out. We have a committee that looks at that and approves that. And then we are required by law to make sure that we let you know and get your approval. And so that list is this.
Do we ever get any money?
Yes. We send it to auction. Mhm.
I move we proceed with this.
Okay, yeah, we sell it.
I think we all are in agreement, so can I get a motion?
Is that a motion? That was a motion.
That was a motion. Any second?
Then I second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can sell. Get us some money.
So
Okay.
what do we get, like a dime on the dollar or a penny on the dollar usually, or what is this?
It's money.
Yeah, it varies. It really does vary on, from time to time because it depends on the market. Sometimes, it's like, it's an auction. It depends on, what people want. So,
Like when we're selling these exercise bikes, they're because they're antiquated and we don't want them at the gym
Yeah.
anymore?
if it's on our renewal and replacement schedule and things are wearing out, then we sell them and some things we get, it depends on what it is.
We have garden tractors for sale.
Yep.
But I don't think the board members can buy any of that.
You can always go to the auction,
Conflict of
yeah.
interest.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's see, Tina?
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Guzman, boy, am I glad to be sitting before you with a recommendation to approve the HEC building project construction manager at risk. You know, it's been a really long haul, and we've been on hiatus for a little over a year, but we're moving forward. So management is recommending that the governing board authorize the president to enter into negotiations with the firm McCarthy Building Companies New Mexico, Inc., in accordance with the project budget and in accordance with the approval guidelines of the Higher Education Department. And you've got a summary of the process that we went through. It was actually a 2-stage process. We requested statements of qualifications for the construction manager at risk services on January 10th, and 8 firms submitted SOQs, which were evaluated by a committee. The committee membership is part of your board packet documentation.
SOQ?
Statement of qualifications. Somewhat like an RFP process, but it's a statement of qualifications. So that was the first round. And then the firms that received the highest ratings from the statement of qualification evaluation, and you have a copy of the evaluation criteria and the rating form for that, were sent a request for proposals on February 14th. And interviews were held on March 12th, and the 3 finalists were rated as indicated on it. So McCarthy was number 1, Bradbury Stam was number 2, and Flinko was number 3. So based on that process and the ratings from the evaluation committee, we recommend that we move forward with negotiating with McCarthy.
Are you familiar with them? Have we had any dealings with McCarthy before?
I don't believe and Bob McWilliams is here also. He's the procurement director, and he oversaw this process that we went through. And it's my understanding that McCarthy has not done any projects specifically for SFCC, but they've done lots of projects in New Mexico.
Well, where are the evaluation sheets that were supposed to be here? Yes, to the board members, so you received them?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, because I thought that that was very important for you to see what variables they were scored on and how they were scored.
Right. And I could just briefly review just with the.
It's okay,
They got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just thought that was important for them to have, even though you've not had that before.
Well,
So, I have a question. What is a construction manager at risk? I mean, how is that different from a construction manager?
It's a construction methodology where rather than doing an RFP for architectural services and then doing a separate RFP process for the contractor, the construction manager at risk brings the construction manager together with the architectural team at the design development phase. And the at-risk part means that we make sure, we will negotiate a guaranteed maximum price based on the design, and having the construction management team be a part of the overall design development, and then the development of the contract documents. So you have all the value engineering and everything done at the front end, and there are no oopses or there are no change orders unless we decide that we want to expand the scope of work. And if there are any cost overruns, if we exceed the guaranteed maximum price, then the at-risk part kicks in, and the construction management firm is liable for any cost overages. And it's a great process. I've used this methodology on construction projects in California, and it makes for a much better designed building, and it's a great way to make sure that the building is constructed on time and within budget.
I don't think we've ever done this before.
No, this is the first time for SFCC.
We modeled after UNM. Okay.
Monsieur, monsieur?
Mhm. Uh-oh.
This company in McCarthy, I think it was bonded.
Yes.
Criteria.
I don't know what Bob, is that? It's in the
project.
Yeah.
Sure, it is the project.
Yeah.
The other advantage to this process is how much faster
Oh, yes.
it gets done. I think it was Paul who said that we were going to open a new building in fall of 14, and he didn't believe it. And no one 5 years ago could have done that. But this process really does speed up things much, much more. And I have used this process at Austin Community College and at Alamo, and the value engineering coming in at the beginning rather than at the end really makes a huge difference.
And
Yeah.
also the early release of bid packages and, being, there's a lot of things that you can purchase now if you anticipate that the prices are going to be increasing or whatever, or just have it, available exactly when it's needed. It really works very well.
Tina, how much of this money that's projected as a budget goes to McCarthy? Any of that, or is beyond?
Well, that is to be negotiated at this point, and we will come back after the negotiations. We'll come back to the board with and request approval to award the contract based on that negotiated price.
So what we want tonight is just approving starting the negotiations between the president.
Right. Correct.
And the
Exactly.
architectural fees are separate.
That's correct. And we already have Decker Parrish Sabatini under contract, and their representative was involved in the selection process. And so we're very eager to bring the CMAR team on board to join the greater team and move forward as quickly as possible. We have to wait to do the groundbreaking until after we have the CMAR on board, because they have all the equipment and everything to help us soften up the ground to make it a little bit easier. And Janet Wise asked if I would take a moment to confirm the projected groundbreaking date, because we're ready to send out the invitations. And our understanding is that it's on April 18th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's if we have the board meeting on Thursday in April. And we had voted that they would be on Tuesdays for,
The first two.
For February and March.
Right.
In April, we have already requested David Segura, David Segura to be here for the oath of office on April the 23rd. Which is on a Tuesday. And that is the day that Kathy Keith has her board meeting, and so she can't come.
yeah, that's what we need to do. And what I could do is I could see what Kathy would prefer, because I was thinking about it, and it might be really hard on her to have if we move it to Wednesdays, if we have it Tuesday and then a Wednesday, and she'd have two board meetings back to back. So my other option was if we have it the third Tuesday instead of the fourth, and then she'd have one meeting on 1 week and then the next meeting in another week. But I didn't know, Meredith, I had forgotten to ask you if that's going to put a real pressure on the financials to be reported. The third, instead of doing it, her meetings are the fourth Tuesday of each month. So we would either have to change it to Wednesdays or to the third Tuesday, and then it wouldn't be as hard on her. Okay. Okay. So it depends on the chair, if you want to change it to the third Tuesday or the fourth Wednesday, whatever the board wishes.
Well, I think Linda had a point, and that was that the new members should be voting on that, since they are the ones who have,
Sure.
especially the,
Right, they're not here.
Well, if we changed it to the 16th for the April meeting and then have the discussion.
right, I agree, that would be fine. What do you think?
that's only 2 days different than what we had.
Right, right. So that would be okay with you?
So we're
So
setting it for the.
why don't we say then the 16th?
April 16th?
Teresa, take note, and then the 18th, we would have the groundbreaking.
Chair Bermudez, would it be possible for Janet to come in?
Right.
Oh, please, yes. Oh, okay.
Well, what Janet and I had spoken about this morning is that we thought it might be good for the board to have the groundbreaking the same day as the board meeting. So we'd have the groundbreaking at 2:00 and then go, break the ground, get the shovels, and then come over here and do the workshop, and then that wouldn't take as much time from the board members. But it's up to you.
What do you think?
Well, if we're gonna be discussing the budget and we haven't had any preliminaries on the budget, we're gonna have to do it all in the April meeting. So we need a substantial amount of time
Yeah,
for
work
discussion.
session. Yeah,
Madam Chair,
Carol?
I understand the scheduling issue, but don't we have an action item before us that it's getting, I'd really like us to get some closure on this and then go with the other scheduling.
And Madam Chair, may Bob McWilliams clarify what you're being asked to
Yes,
approve?
because I may have heard you say that you're going to take a motion to move forward with McCarthy.
no, to start conversations between the president and McCarthy, negotiations.
What's going to happen is you're going to vote so that we can contract with them. Because one of the reasons this speeds forward is they will be doing work. They're going to do early work, they're going to be doing site work and things like that. They bid this project knowing the MAC, and they know what the fee is or the amount of money that will be invested in this project. What we won't know until the design is complete, where they work with the architect, is the total dollar value of what they're going to be at risk for. And then we will come back when we finalize that, but we are motioning to begin a contract to.
All right.
So I would like to move that we approve the Heck Building Project Construction Manager at risk to be McCarthy.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. McCarthy has it.
Thank you for
Now,
your
let's go
patience.
back to our date discussion so we can settle that. And hopefully, Carol and Bruce are going to be there, so make sure that you can make it too.
Well, I'm the existing chair for that.
Absolutely, you
I
are
won't
the
be
chair.
anymore, but-
Exactly. Just don't talk to the chair.
You're the vice chair.
Oh, no, you're vice chair.
I think we better consult with Martha and Kathy on the date of the groundbreaking, because
Yeah.
Teresa
Okay.
reminded me that Martha said she can't do the 18th. I thought
And that's a Thursday, so that's great.
Okay, well then.
But if we do
maybe-
the board meeting on the
So then-
16th, and then let's have a conversation real
Okay.
quick, because I know you got
We
to
can do this online, so let's kind of postpone the discussion to that. Okay, super. So I'm sorry you won't have a date. We're going to discuss it online.
Invitations that say TBA or whatever. We don't know what date.
We don't know what day.
What we'll
No,
do is I'll
let's
call.
do it fast.
I can
Yeah.
call the 2 new board members tomorrow.
That would be great.
Vet this with them, but before you leave, what I'd like for you to tell me is if you're available on the 16th.
But I don't think we should do the groundbreaking and the board meeting on the 16th.
Okay, so because I was doing that for your ease, but if you think that's too much,
Well, I think it's too much in light of we're going to have a couple-hour budget session, I would think.
Okay.
Because we
Well,
have new board members who don't know
the-
about the budget process.
The bond sale is also complicating things, so we need to have Mary D. Will be okay. Will be fine. That's what we have right now. It's rolling. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And we have a first reading, so there's no action actually with the policy until next meeting, correct?
correct.
Okay, information items, Mary D.
This is a budget assumption information item.
Uh-huh.
what I'll show at the April meeting, again, since some of the board members weren't there, is the original budget assumptions, the bar stuff that we've added, and then, this is, we have to be sure when he copies those, by the way, that they're copied down. But what I wanted to show you in this, this isn't so much of the assumptions as much as under the assumptions that where we're going forward, what the budget looks like. What I've put in here is an anticipated, again, I don't have the assessed valuation or anything, increase in the local tax appropriations. It's a modest increase. I put what was in House Bill 2 in terms of the state appropriations. So I added those together to get to what I think the increase in revenues, potential increase in revenues. I'll be narrowing that in, doing a lot more work when you see this next month. At the bottom of the, I have to look at this.
I'm trying.
And if you have one of these things and you turn it, it turns again.
Hey, I got it just a little bit. I have it. I do too.
I just want, Paul, I want to know we're working on this new system. It has a cute couple of glitches. Okay, so what's important to know?
21st century agenda.
Expenditure. We have some the recurring expenditures that we knew that were going to come over from the BAR, the BAR that's happening this year. I brought those over. Those are recurring. So in the next meeting, I'll be telling you what those are, so you'll have a list of what those are, and I'll remind you of what those are. And then what we have is our targeted reductions. And one of the things that we had talked about that we will bring to you that I know the board is looking at, and that is retirement incentive program. So some of those retirees, or people will retire, and then we can reorganize and have some of those. So we have targeted reductions, and we believe that we can meet that reduction. The addition that we have there is the institutionalized Title V. You recall that we have a Title V grant. But what's required is every year some of those move off and are institutionalized. And these are the ones that would be, these are the parts of the salaries that will be institutionalized. We have a targeted add of 5 faculty. And then I put the two costs of the compensation recommendations that are coming from the faculty compensation and the staff compensation increases and the equity increases that are going to happen. I have 2% on there, but the staff are getting that equity adjustment as well. And then the compensation on that, and that's the cost. You'll say, well, how come this number is different than the numbers we saw on the other thing? I am just showing the effect on instruction and general expenditures, not institutional-wide, because if you give staff increases, it affects kids' campus, it affects auxiliaries, it affects everything. So I'm just showing what would happen to ING expenditures in this budget. Because in those other areas, we'll have to deal with it through revenues or other methodologies, and we'll have to talk about that in the next session as well. I have equipment in this budget that we'll put in that. So those are.
Because that would come out of the plant fund.
Well, that's how we've handled it before. We put it in the plant fund. But Dr. G would like to see equipment happening in those exhibits so that we can see over time how much equipment certain programs are using within that budget, and that's the way she's used to seeing that. We have it a little bit different here because we have those transfers that go to the plant fund, and so then those plant transfers then are expended in the plant fund. But since we wanted it this way, I just reduced the transfers and are going to put it into this fund.
Still coming out of the plant fund.
Yes, I'm just going to transfer it. I'm going to make my required transfer the plant funds and sort of transfer them back again.
And one of the reasons for doing it this way is that the Technology Council, talking about the council's operating, the Technology Council will receive the requests from the entire college. And then it will be the Technology Council that will see what we're allocating for technology and then prioritize as a council, what will be funded and then make those decisions. In my experience with this, usually what happens is that by the time we buy the technology, it is cheaper than projected, and so we usually are able to go farther down on the list than we ever have. And so that process will start this year.
So is this retirement plan, what is that? Is that?
That is the maximum it could possibly be. If, what we did was we asked anybody who possibly kind of thought maybe that they would, that they were looking, if there was an incentive that they would retire. And so we calculated, and I think the plan was put to the board, or sent to the board, the retirement plan. Okay. Well, so I'll be bringing that forward. But I put together a plan, and the cost of that is if everyone on that list said, yes, I'll take it, I'll take the deal. That's not gonna happen.
You mean we're paying people to retire?
Mm-hmm. And I can show you in the plan how that saves you money, how that saves you money in the long run.
Well, even in the short run, it's
So this is a pretty standard practice.
Yeah.
It's a
is,
standard
you're right.
practice.
Not for us.
We've done it one time before. And we've done it one time before. We did it during the recession, and,
1997?
no,
This last-
during the recent recession. And, no, we actually did this in about 4 years ago. Yeah, we did a retirement incentive. And so, if you look at, if you have these key positions that you don't replace, okay, then it adds up very, very quick. That savings adds up very, very quick. I don't believe it could possibly cost this much money because that would be everybody on the list. But I just wanted to note that. And I put that down below because it's non-recurring.
Okay, thank you. Next, still you, right?
Pardon? Okay, and let me see where. I put
Accounting
that.
operations improvement plan.
Yes, the
status
accounting,
update.
yes, thank you.
So it's, you know.
Okay. Before, when I was giving you the accounting operations improvement, I was talking about the things that we were doing. And I still put that list at the very end of this, that list of things we've gotten done. But what I wanted to show you is we put together a more substantial plan in plan form. And so we put the goals, and what we've done is tied the goals to the audit findings so that we knew that our goals would hit the findings we needed to hit. And so if you'll go on to like goal number 1, for example, if you push it slowly. Okay, so we have a goal number 1 that we ensure that all staff members are developed in college and university accounting as appropriate to carry out their job duties. Many of the things that we found in the adjusting entries that were causing our problems at year end was staff didn't understand how to make the adjusting entries. And so they went into the system. The adjusting entries went wrong. So what was happening is although all our cash receipts were coming in appropriately and all our cash disbursements might be going out, that year-end period with those adjusting entries did not occur appropriately. And so we needed to go in to assess how much did staff really understand about college and university accounting. Because a lot of times when people come in with financial backgrounds from the private sector, it's a completely different world, and they go by other rules. So they don't know about modified accrual. So we went in, and so we're setting these goals. So what I did then is for each goal, I put the issues, like why is this here, and what's the problem, so that the board would understand the issues. If there was any barriers to correction, then I went on to tell you, I can't fix this, or we can't fix this, or we need more resources to fix this. We don't, and for this particular thing, we don't see barriers to correction. We actually developed. I gave this training myself. Just brought the staff in and taught them college and university accounting. So then I put our objectives, and then each month, then I can report the status. And then I have, so that you'll know where we are in achieving that goal. And if you go to the very, very end, then all of the activities that we're doing to move that status forward, I've put on a list of things that we've done. so that you can see the action steps as well as seeing how those action steps are affecting the status of our goal. And so that's my report.
Do we have a new comptroller yet?
We are just now, we'll be going out for the control, for that position.
You're gonna advertise.
We're advertising, actually, we're going to start advertising this week.
This looks good.
Thank you. This will also, when somebody comes in, they'll be able to hit the ground running to assess where we are and where we need to go, so it keeps that continuity. We have a team, a management team that's managing the business office at this point, and we also have an oversight group. It's with one of the quality councils, the Administrative Services Council that's been set up. Bob McWilliams is leading that council for that subcommittee at this time. So that's who will be reporting. They have this plan. We report back to them, let them know what we're doing. And as the auditors come in, they'll report back to them and their audit plan and all sorts of things. So we have an oversight committee established.
This looks really good.
Okay, thank you.
It really does, yeah. We have our act together. Thank you very much, appreciate that. And now we have an update on the switchboard. Janet? That now when you speak Spanish, you go somewhere?
I'll phone it in.
Spanish.
Yes, right.
In
That's
Spanish, yes.
it.
It's gonna be tested.
I expect to. Just that we plan to switch over management of the switchboard operation from financial affairs over to marketing and public relations sometime next month.
And is it still in that little bitty area in the front?
No, actually, the person can be located anywhere, so they're in a small office,
Little bitty.
a little ways away.
And what is that little area now in the front?
It's gone.
It's,
I know, but there's still a tiny little area.
there's a tiny little desk there, and during peak times, we'll have somebody there. During registration periods, we'll have somebody there, but
What about Saturday mornings?
no plans for that right now.
Is that under you now? That desk?
No, that remains under the Welcome and Advising Center. Just the switchboard is moving over to me.
So, I'm sorry.
Please.
So what's gonna happen? What is the plan for answering a phone call in Spanish?
Those calls now go to ABE, to Letty Naranjo's office. She has a rotating number of work-study students and staff who do speak Spanish who are answering those calls. I haven't checked with her to see what the volume is, but nor have I heard of any problems.
She was not there before, was she?
She was not doing this before.
No one was doing it before.
No one was doing it, so she was asked, and she said she would be happy to, because as we looked at, we went back over the voicemails, and we looked at what was the primary request that was coming in, and over 80% of the calls were, so it made sense to send them there. And she welcomed.
And is there gonna be, or have you set up any kind of, we gotta get this within the next 24 hours, or we gotta do it by a certain time? Because to me, that it wasn't.
Responsiveness is an issue, and my understanding, I can bring some data to another board meeting, and we can look at that. But my understanding is those calls are being answered every single day, all the time. So there should be no lag time unless somebody's out to lunch or something of that nature.
Out to lunch physically?
I think we're actually on top of this one now, but we can certainly bring a report to you to see how it's working.
Once again, I think it's going to be such an important door that's opening for those students, because there are students that can't come to the college or are afraid to come to the college. Having worked in ABE, I know that. I've already seen that. I've seen, that that the phone is a safety thing also. And
Absolutely.
so I think that, having that happening, and that's why I'm really concerned, and hopefully, just I'm hoping that it happens. I see Letty every once in a while because we were coworkers, and so it's a really important thing for me to not
Yeah.
lose those students.
I think it's a good match, and no constituent should languish, no constituent should call the college and not receive service. So that was,
I think we should develop goals for performance in communication, and then maybe in 4 months, come back to the board and report
mhm,
on whether we're accomplishing the goals, because this is part of making the non-English speaking community part of our community, which is part of our mission. And
mhm,
so
mhm,
I think if we develop goals that we share with the board,
mhm.
and then take outcomes in 4 months, then we can assure them that this population is
Well,
taken care
it
of.
just came to me now. I think that, having worked myself with work studies when I was in ABE, I had 12 work studies that we had training every Friday, and so we'd have, I think this is, once again, it's like, it's your turn to answer the phone. It's like, that doesn't work. I think there needs to be they need to be really trained to say, this is what we need to, where does it go from here?
Mhm.
Not just answer the phone and say, oh yeah, just say, this is what we have, this is our schedule. And I know that Letty does that anyway, but that the students if it's a work study, they really need to be trained and have that information right at the tip of their, at their fingertips.
And this is why, Madam Chair and members of the board, that as I take this function over, I'll be looking at the job description for the switchboard operator position, not having to send necessarily all the calls everywhere, because perhaps the switchboard operator person will be bilingual and be able to, to help people on the spot as they call. So that's an option. That's one of the goals that we'll probably look at.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think now, Carla, the impact of staff study, and Dr. Guzman.
Would you like me to just give an overview?
I think that would be fine.
We did discuss this.
We did discuss it. I can just
Yeah.
do a brief overview.
Yeah,
Or-
for the benefit of those who are not there.
Okay. Madam Chair and members of the board, I'll go through the slide that you have in your packet titled Classification and Compensation Study Staff. And just to let you know, we did contract with Condrey and Associates to do a classification and compensation study for staff. They looked at a total of 332 staff employees in the study. They did a local employment market survey, which included 6 higher ed educational institutions, 3 local governments, state, county, and city, 2 private employers, which was Los Alamos and the hospital. Resulted in about 200 new job descriptions, a new salary schedule, a new position evaluation system, and options for implementing the plan. There was a finding in the decision of the study that we would go with 100% of market for wage, for classification wages. And that impacted about 50 employees, which is about 15%, that would need to be increased in salary to come up to the 100% market wage amount. The implementation plan we're looking at is July 1, so there's time to look at, Merity will go through in the budget process additional increases,
staff-wide for cost of living or COLA increases, which is not part of the classification study, but it was recommended that it be added in addition to increases awarded for classification changes. We will be rolling out the study to staff. I think tomorrow I'm actually scheduled for Staff Senate. And job descriptions will be going out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have staff forums scheduled so that it's open for staff to come in and ask questions and look at the final results of the study. And then in May, there'll be a reevaluation or an appeal process if there's any issues that staff may think their position was not evaluated appropriately. So the consultant will assist with any appeal process to the implementation to finalize and be effective in July 1. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much.
So you did get the cost too, and there's another slide that we did talk about that earlier.
I was very,
So the cost is not very substantial because we're only looking at 15%. So the major cost would be if the additional COLAs are authorized and approved.
And I think it's so important to bring those up to that 100% mark.
Yes,
yes,
good.
great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Guzman. Okay, and then the last but not least, faculty adjunct faculty compensation chart, and that's Mary D. and Dr. Guzman.
And I think probably we can bring that back next month
That
after
sounds-
the work
that sounds
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay.
Espléndida, espléndida, gracias. Okay, I think the oath of office has been postponed, so TBA, right, is not on the 23rd, correct? It's up in the air, right?
On the 18th.
So then, are we leaving it on the 23rd?
So we could have the board meeting on the 16th. And can Kathy come at that time, Linda?
I think she said she could.
How about the judge?
Well, we won't know the judge.
Yeah.
We'll call him tomorrow.
Plenty of judges.
Linda.
Okay.
Okay, so then, the oath of office would be April 16th, correct?
The board meeting will be April 16th.
April 16th, and what we don't know is what Janet is dying to know, which is when we are going to be breaking ground.
Would you like to do it the 17th?
I would love to.
But let's see if Martha's around.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even know if Martha's around on the 16th for the board meeting.
We'll have to call her and check first thing tomorrow.
All right, so we'll settle it after she calls. We'll say yes, and then if she calls, we'll just email each other, and that'll be it. Thank you so much. We are going into closed session, is that correct, Dr. Guzman? So I need a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing litigation or personnel issues.
What
Second?
if there's no second? Second? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you for being here. I don't think